Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Sinatra. I'm the co-chair of centerNet, and on behalf of the executive of our association, I'm very happy to welcome you to our first lecture series of this winter 2025. I'd like to sort of highlight the presence of Jason Boyd, our sort of secretary of the centerNet executive, and Kristen Mapes, our colleague who couldn't make it with us today. As you know, this series is obviously organized in different time zones, different hours, and will be recorded for our website at centernetdh.org. The recording will only be the part of the presentation that DBO is going to do, and then I will stop the recording so that we can have an exchange of questions, thoughts, feedbacks, in a way that's less pressured for, sort of our words are frozen in time. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Dibyadyuti Roy, who is a cultural analyst of dominant technologies, who brings, and it was very interesting for us, a unique global perspective to his research and teaching from the experience of being in a multidisciplinary academic environments across 3 different continents. His interests are many, but they also, very much focus on the idea of advancing data-driven humanistic inquiry, with a particular focus on the impact of digitality within marginalized communities, especially in global majority regions. You can read his work. It's quite extensive in various places, but I will mention the global debates in the digital humanities and what we teach when we teach digital humanities. Both came out from the University of Minnesota Press, but also his work appeared in Digital Humanities Laboratories and the other volume, Doing Digital Humanities Practice, Teaching, Research. Both came out from Routledge, all of these, great volumes with lots of our colleagues sharing their expertise. Dibyo is also the vice president and one of the founding members of the Digital Humanities Alliance for Research and Teaching Innovations, DARTI, our colleague from India, and one of the constituent organization of ADO. centerNet is similarly one of the constituent organization of ADO, the umbrella organization of 13 constituent organizations around the world. Dibyo is also frequently asked to share his expertise at both academic conferences and public forum, and most recently, he was a plenary at the AI for Information Accessibility event organized by the UNESCO and the Carnegie Council for Ethics. He is an associate professor of cultural studies, media studies, and digital humanities, and the program director of the BA in Cultural and Media Studies program at the University of Leeds, where he's speaking us today, and he will be discussing the research center that he's very much involved in at Leeds. Thanks again, Dibyo, and I'll leave you the floor.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you to everyone who's taken the time to join us today. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be able to talk at a centerNet lecture seminar series. As Michael mentioned, I'm Dr. Dibyadyuti Roy, and this is a joint talk prepared by me and Professor Simon Popple, who is academic lead at the Digital Cultures and Creativity Hub, where I am a faculty affiliate and a centerNet liaison. Unfortunately, Simon couldn't join us today because of conflicting schedules, but I hope that he's very excited to share our conversations at DCCH with the entire community here. And we hope that there'll be many questions and hopefully many collaborations across continents and spaces. That's always the exciting part of being, involved in a centerNet event or even being involved in centerNet, because centerNet provides us this opportunity of conversing across countries and borders in a time in the world when borders are being made less porous. I think we need organizations like centerNet, which are promoting porousness, flexibility, and exchange. And I think that's the larger viewpoint from which I come to this conversation today. So this talk today presents reflections on the first 18 months. We are a very new center. On the first 18 months of the Digital Creativity and Cultures Hub, also known as DCCH, at the University of Leeds, a partnership between the libraries at the University of Leeds and the Leeds Arts and Humanities Research Institute, also known as LARI. The DCCH supports digitally oriented research, focusing on developing and supporting staff and students in pursuit of digital research and creative practices using library collections, as well as born digital artifacts and other digital tools, techniques, and methods. This talk today discusses the paths of the new center, which is at the heart of the Brotherton Library at Leeds, which is one of the three libraries at Leeds, actually four, and showcases the activities and reflects on the opportunities and challenges in the years ahead. So just to give a brief background of the motivation, the DCCH, while Digital Humanities, has in fact been part of the University of Leeds Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Cultures. And the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Cultures at the University of Leeds is one of the largest in the UK. We have over 8,000 students with 1,000 faculty members, 9 schools, 2 institutes. So it's a huge enterprise in general. And it's a large part of the enormous student body at the University of Leeds, which grows up to 40,000 students. So, in a sense, the DCCH emerged from this strategic priority of the library that wanted to develop meaningful and sustainable research partnerships on the intersection of collections with digital, particularly in digital humanities and digital scholarship. And this is part of the Knowledge for All, Knowledge Equity Network that the University of Libraries vision for 2030 puts forward. This is a strategic initiative on part of the University of Leeds. And as I keep stressing or will keep stressing throughout my talk, it is an invitation for multiple colleagues and opportunity for the GLAM sector, the galleries, libraries, archives, museum sector. Leeds is a wonderful city in North England, in West Yorkshire, which is a very vibrant galleries, libraries, archives, museums ecosystem. So it's an invitation for the colleagues joining us today to be in conversation with us at DCCH, many colleagues who represent. So I'm only one of them who's fortunate to be part of this since its inception. And what I'll present to you today in many ways is background and the possibilities, as well as some of the kind of opportunities that we have presented and some of the events that we have curated and many of the possibilities that we envision. So it was launched, DCCH was launched in October 2023 as a joint initiative between the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Cultures and the University of Leeds Libraries to facilitate supporting and promoting digital projects from across faculties, supporting and promoting digital projects, working with cultural collections. And I will, in a few moments, show you the massive special collections at Leeds, which are a key site of initiation of many of the conversations for us. It's home of the new Digital Humanities Research Group, which is just about a year old. And it provides training and resources for digital methods, one-to-one consultations for both staff, student, and faculty. And it is built with the idea, or it's created with the idea of fostering conversation and community. In terms of the Digital Humanities Research Group, which is already was set up in 2024 with funding from UKRI, which is the UK Research and Innovation Group, or the collective and Research England under the Enhancing Research Culture funding stream, and is supported by the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Cultures at the University of Leeds. The DH Research Group currently has over 40 faculty, student and staff members from over 9 schools in the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Cultures, as well as in the Faculty of Engineering and Social Sciences, and regularly organizes multiple events. So I will obviously pass on the link during our conversations to DCCH, where you can look at many of our members who are doing phenomenal work. One of my colleagues, Dr. Kivil Chim, who's a medievalist, has been doing brilliant work with medieval studies and digital collections. And Kivil Chim has been, one of the conveners and co-initiators of the Digital Humanities Research Group. And therefore, a shout out to her for the wonderful work that she's bringing to the DCCH as well. In terms of the areas of collaboration, one of or some of our deliverables and the work that has been happening, the Digital Library Infrastructure Project is something that has been happening, which I'll talk for in a moment. The DCCH has also been involved in creating student internships and developing projects, creating training opportunities for our faculty, staff, and students, developing internal events, organizing internal events, as well as external engagement, which are grant-based, grant or funding-based opportunities, as well as applying for new funding bids, and also providing small research grants and fellowships for the university community and beyond. So to talk about the Digital Library Infrastructure Project, This is fundamentally leveraged on our special collections, which is to improve search, access, and use of the university's digital rare and unique items. And here for a moment, I'll show you the massive possibilities of the cultural collections at the University of Leeds, which is home to hundreds of thousands of rare books, manuscripts, archives, arts, and objects. Our collections offer a rich resource for staff, students, and the wider research community. I will remember to post this in the chat, but let me do that while we are having a conversation here. And part of the digital library infrastructure project, and I'm going back to my slide right now, um, sorry, um, is to deliver a resilient cloud-based technical infrastructure adopting open solutions and open standards. This is a 4-year project with strategic investment from the university between 2023 and 27. It's a digital transformation project with support from across the institution, and the cultural collections at the Brotherton Library are a cross-faculty infrastructure. And in fact, what is being promoted, as you can see, is to improve search, access, and use of the university digital rare and unique items so that external scholars and extramural researchers and projects and collaborations can develop through the DLIP. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, because we have limited time, I'm going to only touch upon these things, but of course, happy to have a longer chat, is that with funding from the university alumni, Footsteps Fund, and the University of Leeds Libraries, DCCH was able to support 10 undergraduate interns to work on library and cultural collections-based projects in the 2023-2024 academic year. The interns were drawn from schools across the faculties of arts, humanities and cultures, and engineering and physical sciences, bringing together some very diverse knowledge and skills from across their disciplines. The students developed projects according to their interests with the help of their mentors. And I will be briefly mentioning a few projects today. As you can see, some of the broader kind of bullet points is mentioned here, that we had 150 hours plus professionalized budget, conference attendance, kit budgets, interns paired across faculty of HC, engineering and physical sciences, specialist mentors from DCCH, special collections, galleries, digitization, library, and IT. There were 5 project themes: welcoming migrants, special collections, born in Bradford, digital makers, collections as data, and applying digital methods in innovative ways to explore library data. And of course, also the International Image Interoperability Framework project, supporting the library's implementation of the IIIF framework. So today, of course, I'll not be able to talk of everything in detail, but I will provide a few examples of the student work that has emerged from their interaction with these 5 project themes. The first one that I want to talk about, and these are some of our very excited and very capable interns, and that's Cassie there. Cassie is a digital development officer who's standing at the back. And just to point out, the library has recently created the Academic Asylum Seekers and Refugee Access membership that grants asylum seekers and refugees free year-long reference access to the libraries. Our interns worked with the galleries team at the library to open up the university's art collections to migrant communities as part of this Welcoming Migrants project. And this has been one of the things that has been a part of the University of Leeds' emphasis on being a welcoming site for migrants and precariat refugee populations. As you can see, our students who worked on this project are mentioned at the bottom of the slide. The second project I'm going to briefly talk about is called Born in Bradford. And the Born in Bradford, by the way, Bradford is a town or a city that is about 20 minutes away from Leeds. In the 19th century, it was a major site of industrialization as a site of textiles. As you might know, West Yorkshire was in fact one of the sites for the Industrial Revolution and part of the textile machinery of the colonial mechanism, in fact, in many ways. But it's also, Bradford was also a site of migrant populations or migration in the early 1970s and 80s. And they have a large volume of industries that were based there. Unfortunately, in the last few decades, the deindustrialization has led to some of that kind of broader prosperity of Bradford suffering. And the Bradford economy is estimated to be underperforming. It was at one point of time 10 billion pounds and more, but it's estimated to be underperforming by as much as £4 billion per year. And currently, as many as a third of local businesses cite a lack of digital expertise as a major block to their growth. One reason for this is that the city is one from education and skills deprivation, a factor which only serves to amplify the digital skills gap. And Born in Bradford project is a major project, and this is only a small part of adding to the conversations of Born in Bradford. I'll put that in the chat box as we speak. So our student interns worked on specifically on the Born in Bradford Digital Makers project, developing digital skills training for school children in the Bradford area. And we have a lot of persons of color and individuals from marginalized communities and migrant communities in Bradford. So this was this fantastic project to ensure that digital humanities, meets its community outreach goals, which is also a very important part of the DCCH. The next project that we want to talk about today is the Collections as Data project, which was about producing digital interpretations of our cultural collections through creative experimentation. And you can see a couple of different examples here. Our students, interns worked on the Collections as Data project, developing digital approaches to working with data to offer new insights into the library collections. One of this is, of course, Thomas Crosby's work trait card, and this is our student Lexi's website, which I hope you can see here, which talks about how our special collections, and specifically it talks about the arts and antique market collections in our special collections. And specifically Lexi's project was on John Evan Bedford Library of Furniture History, which is what John Bedford left in 2019 when he passed away. He left a collection of rare books, manuscripts, artworks, and objects to the University of Leeds Library. Something that has also been part of this element of working with special collections is also our students who have created student Lily, who has created this beautiful digital project on cookbooks, British cookbooks, which draws from a rich collection of 18th and 19th century recipe manuscripts that are housed at the Brotherton Library and can all be accessed online through the links below. Just if you click on each image, you can actually be taken to the full manuscript. Although each handwritten page has been meticulously modernized to suit today's kitchens, the original language and essence has been carefully preserved and respected, offering you a taste of the past. And I think what is very exciting to see, if you look on Lily's digital cookbook, it's a very accessible way of understanding 18th and 19th century British recipes. And I'll just show you briefly, run through this different chapters that have been created and recipe images, which largely speaks to the cultural history of food as a way to understand our shared kind of cultural concerns and histories. Right. So moving on from here, let me tell you a little bit about the DCCH internship blog, which basically this is, of course, as I said, we are just about 18 months old, but these students were supported by being offered training in a range of digital methods, including podcasting, blogging, photography, creating online exhibitions, and data analysis methods. Students showcased the results of their work at a special event last summer. And the blog here has detailed information on many of these, all of these internship projects, which I will, of course, share with you. But I thought, and this is, of course, the website, which you are welcome to have a look at, and I'll share this with you as well. So moving on from our pedagogical projects, and I'm only presenting, even though we are 18 months old, we have done enormous amounts of programming. So therefore, I'm only able to present to you today a small cross-section of that, which is quite exciting that even in this short time, there has been so much work that's been done at the DCCH already. So the next thing that I'll want to move on to is this ongoing online series, Deliberations in Digitality, Voices in and from the Majority World, which is hosted by the DCCH and started in the March of 2024. For this series, we have scholars, practitioners, researchers, and technologists deliberate on the creative, critical, and humanistic possibilities, as well as the perils of digitality, especially as seen through global majority spaces and voices. The first event, organized in March of 2024, was a panel of scholars, technologists, curators, and community-based practitioners of art from global South spaces. As you can see, it was Dr. Setsuko Yokohama, who's an assistant professor of digital studies from the Singapore University of Technology and Design, Ms. Nanditi Khilani and Ms. Ambika Joshi, who are co-founders of Ajaib Ghar, a strategic cultural heritage management organization from India. And they work with solutions in arts and culture, AI, creative technology, and new media affordances. Our next speaker was Ms. Ishita Shah, an expert in collective community-based curatorial practice and part of the self-founded collective Curating for Culture. So following this event, which we had a wonderful response to, and all of these events, I want to stress, are open online for everyone, which is why we ensure that these are hybrid events so that our colleagues at Leeds can join us in person at DCCH, but it's also open for everybody in the online world. The next event, which happened in November of last year, was Maitreyi Shah, a disabled lawyer and researcher who presented his work that explores the complex intersection of disability rights and our increasingly data-driven governance systems. Drawing from his extensive experience at the forefront of tech policy, Maitreyi examined how the datafication of public services and social systems impacts disabled individuals. His unique perspective, informed by work across prestigious institutions from UC Berkeley to Harvard's Berkman Klein Center, bridge critical gaps between disability justice, AI governance, and digital infrastructure. And I've been absolutely privileged to be able to start this series, and I convene and moderate this series. And it is just an absolute pleasure to be able to introduce these amazing scholars to spaces where their scholarship may not have been spoken about. So in a sense, DCCH has a strong commitment towards creating a bridge between global majority and global minority conversations in digital cultures and creativity, as well as technology as a whole. The next kind of event that I want to briefly mention was that in late November as well, we were privileged to host Professor Danny Snelson from UCLA, who came and spoke on with me and my colleague, Professor Nick Thurston. I'm based here in the School of Fine Art, History of Art and Cultural Studies, and my colleague, Dr. Nick Thurston, and we were privileged to have a conversation with Danny on speculative and critical imageries of AI. And Danny's research and teaching blends a study of poetry and poetics with work on digital and network cultures, material tech studies, and media theory. We spoke to Danny about the speculative and critical imageries of AI in response to his forthcoming book titled The Little Database, A Poetics of Media Formats, which is forthcoming from the University of Minnesota Press. It argues for a materially invested reading of works of print, sound, and cinema from within new media context. And I was particularly excited to invite Danny to have this conversation because I teach two courses at the University of Leeds, one a postgraduate and advanced undergraduate course on the cultural politics of artificial intelligence, and a first-year module on algorithmic cultures. And Danny's work was fantastic for my students to hear as well. So that was, again, we were trying to blend research and pedagogy as conversation partners instead of maintaining them in silos, as it often happens in large research-based institutions. So the last kind of project, or if this were internal events, the last kind of external engagement that I want to talk about is this very exciting new collaboration that I have been fortunate to begin with DCCH. In fact, at the center is this collaboration between the University of Hamburg and the University of Leeds, which has led to a University of Leeds, Hamburg Leeds lecture series on affect, archive, and artificial intelligence. And my collaborator, Professor Dr. Julia Nantke from University of Hamburg, who's a modern German literature and digital humanities scholar, as well as with many other colleagues at Leeds and at Hamburg. So this exciting new collaboration in the field of digital humanities, critical AI studies, and digital archival practices between the University of Hamburg and the University of Leeds sees DCCH at the heart of a broader partnership between these two institutions. My colleague and collaborator from Hamburg, who's coordinating this event with me, and through this lecture series, what we are trying to explore are the exciting intersections between human emotion, archival practices, and artificial intelligence. This collaboration emerges from our shared interests in how, as cultural artifacts increasingly transition into algorithmic formats, we face both remarkable opportunities and significant challenges. While digital and emergent technologies, particularly generative AI and large language models, are reshaping our interactions with cultural heritage, especially archives in both analog and born digital spaces, they can also impose or amplify existing standardization in ways that do not always accommodate specificities of individual archival objects. The diverse needs of users, especially the affective dimensions of user engagement with archival infrastructures. Our speakers during these three sessions on February 26th, March 3rd, and April 2nd. And April 2nd talk is the last one left in this series, which is day after tomorrow and Wednesday. So I welcome you all. I'll share the link in the chat box as we are speaking, have been approaching these topics from varied disciplinary perspectives, presenting innovative methodologies and theoretical frameworks that promise to enrich our understanding of scholarship in these areas. So I'll put if I can, I'll just find the link and I'll put it in the chat box. But just to think about in terms of resources and contacts, the resource links that I want to lead you towards is one, the University of Leeds Libraries Vision 2023, which is the knowledge for all. And I'll put this in the chat box again. This is, as you can see, talks about how the University of Leeds Libraries, one of the major academic research libraries of the UK with globally significant collections and a strong service ethos. It plays a key role in creation, dissemination, application, and preservation of knowledge. A shout out to our like chief head librarian, Dr. Masood Khokhar, who's also known as the keeper of the Brotherton Library, which is a cool title to have. And so Masood has been extremely supportive in our endeavors and sees the library and DCCH as kind of complementary hubs for enriching the university and the wider community through the unique collections, resources, expertise, and innovation services. As you can see, this is the Digital Library Infrastructure Project blog, which I had mentioned briefly, which is about making our cultural collections available to our communities, both internal within the University of Leeds and also beyond the University of Leeds. We also have the parent website for the Digital Cultures and Creativity Hub, which is this website, which I'll put in your chat box again. And the next thing that I want to talk a little bit about is the internship blog, which you can see, and the DCCH events that are all here. As you can see, the Affect Archive and Hamburg lecture series is here. So you are very welcome to, in fact, not just welcome, you are invited to please join us for these conversations and hopefully continue on collaborating on many of these aspects. So of course we welcome your inquiries, and I convey the thanks and gratitude of Simon as well for providing us this opportunity to talk about our new center, and I hope that centerNet and DCCH will have many possibilities of collaboration in the coming years. So I'm going to stop here, and I hope I have made time. I think I timed myself, so it's 24 minutes, I believe. Yeah, thank you.